Badge Brigade, we're back. We are back. It feels like the GTA meme where he's walking down the alley. Ah, shit, here we go again. But we got no choice. The good people at Underdog dropped another contest, one that we did not address this morning, one that we are going to be drafting this evening. So why not do it together? Why not do it on the fly? And we're going to bring in two different talents than this morning, but equally qualified. You know them and love them. Mark Garcia, Shane Neumy. How you guys doing?
What's up, boys?
Doing well. Doing well.
Yeah, man, they snuck this contest on us. Neumy, you were asking for this one last week, man. You were asking for this. Yeah. You wanted a little Vikings. You wanted
they did it a week late, man. They trolled me, and I would have had all of the Jefferson, dude. I would have had all of it, and I'm sad. But yeah, here we go. We got now I get to draft the Packers. Swell.
Yeah. There you go. That's your consolation prize for missing the Vikings last week is now you got to draft Packers, bud. How you feeling about that?
Not great. Not great.
That's good. Mark, how's it going, man? How was your weekend? How'd your single entries go? How did all the OWS stuff go on the weekend? You have some good shouts or what?
We had a very good week just from a community's perspective in Showdown, and I pretty much whiffed everything on the main slate. So it was like fade Herbert and fade Jamal Williams week. So although I was 100% penny on my single entry 3-entry max stuff, but I didn't stack up the Lions enough. That game was insane.
Fair enough. I mean, it was kind of weird in that regard where this slate was similar to 2 weeks ago, where it was like if you just didn't have that game, you just weren't getting there, right? Like if you didn't have the Miami Baltimore game in week 2. Yeah, you weren't making money. If you didn't have the Lions and Seahawks game in week 4, you weren't making money, right? So, yeah, just one of those slates, man. And it was interesting because for the second time this year, my cash lineup outscored my GPP lineups, right?
It's because all the cash plays were like all the chalk plays and they all hit. It's the same as like week 1 where it's like all the chalk hit for different reasons. But yeah, like week 2, I was like, made all the money because I was on that Miami-Baltimore game. And this week it was like, oh man, there's so many different ways that game could fail. Although I had pieces, I had Hawk, I had Reynolds, I had all the pieces, but not all together in one spot where it was like, you can put up 250 burger, but.
Right. Yeah. I mean, well, you saw the guy that was duping himself leading the Millie for a bit there. He just had every piece of it, right? Like,
he ended up taking like third times 32 or something.
Yep. Yeah, I think Hoop came or someone from Rumpier came and took it. So that was
really?
That was good to see.
Won the Millie?
Yeah. Hoop, wow. 2410 took it, man, or 42, whatever.
Yeah, long time
numbers.
Hoop
at Rumpier. Yeah.
Loop.
But long-time grinder, you love to see that, right? Like, you know, the guy's been in the streets and, you know, doing some content stuff and whatever for a long time. All right, well, we were going to do the way too early slate preview, the game by game, until Underdog dropped this new contest. And now let's just do it live. Let's just do it on the fly here because this is a cool format that we were kind of lobbying for. Well, not specifically lobbying for, but that we were lobbying for in the past, where that we loved the 2 games, right? Like just these 2 games because it creates such a great dynamic and it creates such a battlefield for when to take the quarterbacks and when to block guys out. And it's just, they're so fun to draft. Like for my money, these are way more fun to draft than they are to draft the main slate here. I'm going to share my screen and we can get real specific with these 2 games. First off, Neumy, have you drafted any yet?
I did one.
Okay.
I tried to right before the stream. So it was
just to get a feel.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like you said, I like it way more than the single game. So it was fun. I just it's just it's just a better format. I wouldn't say.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. Actually, while we're on the mindset of format, how did you like? It's interesting. We didn't talk about the Monday night at all with Pete because he wasn't playing it and whatnot. But the single entry was a lot more fun to draft yesterday. It presented a lot more combos. And Mark, if you didn't play it, they added quarterbacks and kickers to the pool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw that.
And it created a way better dynamic for a single game contest. But the problem was the winning lineup was still some super crazy, unobtainable combination of ADP 1, 2, and 5 or something, 1, 2, and 4.5. So it didn't necessarily, from a results standpoint, solve their problem in quotations, but it was better. It was much better, and it was a much more enjoyable slate to draft, and it was a very good step in the right direction. And I don't want to be results oriented, but the result of the matter was it was still an unobtainable ADP stack that took it down in a chop. So it's interesting. I don't know how we go from here. Neumy, you got thoughts on where we go from here with the single game?
So yeah, I mean, I think the main thing we were talking about yesterday was like, oh, how do we fix kicker this, kicker that? I think one thing in general, I just don't know if 3 teams will work, like, or 3 users in a draft. Like, I just don't think it's gonna, the question of whether it's, you got lucky, which I think it's been pointed out in Discords on Twitter. Like, we all understand that someone could get unique, and then you just get that monster team with them just simply getting unique, not collusion. But the being the gray area where we don't know what is what, I just don't know if the 3 teams is specifically going to work. Like, I put in the Discord that possibly 4. I know there's only 2 quarterbacks, but possibly adding defenses and making it 4 teams that are 4 users per draft, even on the single game. I know there's been talk of, however they would do it. I don't know how, but just adding some sort of multiplier. You've talked about that before. Your first round does this. I don't know how
that works. The pseudo captain spot idea, but
different
in a
ways
format.
They can do it. But I think just getting off of the 3-person drafts is something that they're just going to have. That's something they should experiment with, trying a 4-person or just trying to multiply. And if you have to do a small price point, a $3, like just 500
just
people,
to test
to test it, just do it, because like we'll be thankful for that, because like when we find out that we'll find out later in this year that perfect single game contest, and we'll be like, how did we never think of this? This is perfect. You know what I mean? Like,
that's true.
We just have to work through the kinks and find it. So it's awesome that they're working with us, and they're stepping out, and they're asking what we need to do to fix it, and they're bringing us more contests. But yeah, I think the main thing would probably be just doing away with the 3 people, because I just think you're never going to get. There's always going to be the question of collusion and luck with 3 people. I don't know if 4 will do the same.
Yeah, I'm not sure if 4 changes.
I don't know,
but luck,
it's just
but it might
try it. You know what I mean?
Just might be something new to try. Yeah, for sure. Mark, I want to get your thoughts, because for those who don't know, Mark invented a very cool strategy-based best ball game a few years back on a project we did together, and he basically invented a format of fantasy football that was very, very sharp. So I'd love to have your take with that background, just being like, how would I build the perfect single game contest?
I think you'd have to either expand into IDP. So you have to do something to broaden the player pool, whether it's IDP or dupes is another interesting scenario, where you could have, like, if it's like a 6-person draft, there's 2 of every player. If it's like you could even break it out to like 12-person drafts and do like 4 of every player.
Interesting.
I think there's something to be said with that, where it would bring a lot of different strategy angles, and it would be less prone to being beaten, because when you have like a 3 or even 4-man person draft, it's so easy to cheat the system, whether you want to call that collusion or however you want to define that.
Sure,
it's a lot easier if you, as opposed to like even the 6-man drafts, which are the industry norm for them, or you could bump it up to like 8, 9, 12, and you could have these different drafts. I think you'd have to do something to broaden the player pool of draftable entities. So whether that's IDP or whether that's dupes, copy, I don't know what they call it in the industry, copy players or dupes, whatever, multiple of the same player, which is interesting too, because like it should theoretically, if you have like a third of the number of players per, or I guess compared to the people in the draft. So if it's a 6-person draft, you'd have like 2, of one particular player, like 2 Josh Allens, if you're talking a single game, or if it's out to like 12, you could have 4. I think that's a way to keep it to where you could get more people in a draft, but it wouldn't change the dynamics of the draft enough to like, there would be some strategy angles, but it wouldn't change the dynamics of the draft enough to be like, we don't know what this is.
It'd be interesting if you expanded the player pool to like amount of people that are in the draft. So like if you had like last night's slate, you could have 4 Cooper Kupps. You could have if there's 4 drafters. You know what I mean? Like so that the number of drafters matches the number of available player, but then you're blurring the lines between DFS and whatever. I had an idea where you tether point scoring to ADP in some regard so that a player with a suppressed ADP is worth more than a high-end player with the low ADP. So if Cooper Kupp is 101, he scores his flat amount of points, right? But the 12th round ADP, or like the 12th over ADP, 12th overall ADP player has a multiplier that then he only requires like 7 points and he's worth the same value as Cooper Kupp. Now that might get the game tree a little too complex and it might be crazy, but it's just like a thought process to, I don't know if it's even out scoring, but makes scoring ADP sensitive. I don't know.
Would that be dynamic with as ADP changes? Like
as ADP changes. So at the point in time which you drafted that player, your player's then tethered to ADP. Now, from a back end company standpoint and trying to build out that
it's a nightmare.
And how it's a fucking nightmare. Don't get me wrong. Like the feasibility of that is just like so far fetched. But I don't know. I'm just kind of like throwing shit against the wall and seeing what sticks, right? Like just
you got $100,000, dude. Let's go build that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, let's
come on, man. We can do
let's
that.
Run it back. Let's run it back.
I love the IDP because I think I mentioned that. Was it?
Yeah, you mentioned it yesterday. Yeah,
and I thought it like maybe just wasn't feasible. It's glad to know that you like that, or that was one of your first mentions because that was my first thought was just adding the IDPs because not just defense alone because then you just get and then obviously figure out how to even scoring. You know how you would ever do it, but that was my first thought because that gives you so many more options. To pick from, like you just said, way more draft entities. Yeah. So, and I think that could be something really interesting, and that they might explore soon, instead of just going to defense. But yeah, that's really fun.
The thing with IDP is like, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no, you finish your thought on IDP because it's a separate conversation.
Yeah. The thing with IDP is you already like best ball is a growing game and it's not like as established like DFS where like DraftKings could throw out a completely an entirely new contest format and it'd be like, oh, we have all this user base that we can tap into. Like I think with best ball, you probably the user base is too small. Like if I'm thinking about this from like Underdog's perspective, like how would I ensure that these contests fill because we know that they have to be guaranteed or their money's on the line. So that might be probably the barrier to entry is like, it's probably IDP plus best ball is not like enough overlap right now. That's kind of why I was leaning towards, the thought came up to do dupes where you don't change the scoring or the format or anything like that. You're just adding people to the draft. I don't know.
Yeah, I think all of these ideas have merit, and I think they're going to explore so many avenues, and they're going to talk through with their player pool, and we're eventually going to arrive at something. And even with this conversation, I'm not even sure we've come close to the correct answer yet. So it's going to be very fun to just see how it pushes. But something that we talked about that Mark and I know from the company side is they do have to guarantee money for all these player pools. So it is, they should be leaning in the direction of quote unquote risk adverse for changing the game. But then you also have to think about the margins in terms of you have to put up guaranteed money for these contests. And football is by far their most profitable rake machine, right? And you only get 18 weeks of it, maybe plus the playoffs, plus whatever. You have to, as a company, maximize those with as large of contests as you can fill every single week. So getting very experimental, though they're a smaller company than DraftKings, they're not small by any means. So finding ways to experiment also comes at the mercy of their bottom line. So I respect the fact greatly that they're trying so many of these different things right now. That being said, I think it's going to I think an IDP or something like that would be an off-season addition, and then they come back, they hype it a little bit, and then they bring it in for week 1. Because if you just threw an IDP one out this week, like even I wouldn't know what the shit to do with it, right?
Yeah.
Like from a paying the rake standpoint, right? Guys, bringing up just something before we tie a bow on this one game contest, because I really want to talk about this 2 game and the slate specifically because I think it's really good. Willis just pointing out like we're still talking about the gray areas, right? Where some Cup, Stafford, Jimmy G teams were thrown out, but then Debo plus Stafford plus Jimmy plus Higbee were not, or that one was, sorry. But the one that ended up winning was Higbee, Debo, Cup, and Wilson. So just blurring the lines between, what was allowed to be played, what was allowed to be thrown out. I understand they're looking on the back end and they're going, hey, this looks collusion versus this doesn't. And I know they go through a thorough process of that, but still very little transparency with the players as to why was this lineup thrown out, but why wasn't this one, right?
I think that's that's probably a fine line too, with how much they want to or can say.
Exactly. Yeah.
Legal department's probably like, stop it.
Yeah. Shut up. Let these third party guys discuss it all they want, but we can't say something. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a whole can of worms with legality, and especially like Mark, as you know, how much fucking red tape there is with gambling versus skill-based games in building a site in the States, right?
Yeah, and every state is different, which is even it's a harder hurdles to jump through. Yeah.
Eric with this groundbreaking idea of adding a salary cup and then salaries for players and then a captain slot.
1.51 for the captain. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Hey, but let's talk about this slate specifically because I think it could be a lot of fun. I think it's going to be a lot of moving pieces in these games. You have a very depleted Giants pass core. You have a depleted Broncos running back room. You probably have no Jonathan Taylor, but there is a little speculation or maybe reason that you could still be taking some shots on him if ADP drops. And then you got a crowded backfield with both players who could both get home in the same backfield for the Packers. Just knee-jerk reaction to the slate, Neumy. What are you seeing here? I haven't looked at ADP yet. I haven't drafted yet. What are you just kind of seeing here overarching?
I had the same thought about JT. I was actually going to pick him in the last round, but he has the doubtful tag, so he will not be swapped.
Oh. Okay, so that's a big nugget.
Yeah, I was like, and a DMP today.
Okay,
made me just be like, you know what, like on my first team, I'm just not gonna bite the bullet. Although I maybe should have, but whatever. But yeah, the first thought is like the quarterbacks are up there at the top, but they don't really go as they should. Okay. I don't think so. Other than that, it's just, I don't know. These games are not fun. These games are just not fun. Like you said, depleted Giants. I think everyone has a Q tag on there except Sills and what's his name, Richie James. So that's just the fun thing that we have to figure out. Since that game's in London, the in London factor, and then the fact that it's Sunday morning. So. Yeah, it's just I think JT is going to right now it's JT to figure out if he's playing, and I don't think he is. So I don't know what you have on that, Mark, but
one thing I just want to say just before you address and say whatever. The one thing about the London game that is like the pivotal piece of news that we will be paying attention to get kind of leverage on Friday or potentially Thursday. I guess Thursday morning before they travel prior to the slate locking Thursday night will be who traveled with the team, right? That will be the big dead giveaway for health for both of these sides. So if we see that, Wandell and Galladay didn't travel, well, it's pretty safe to assume, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's back to, I think looking at the slate, like it's basically, we'll go back.
Sorry.
No, I'm just kidding. This slate is like, and you don't need to draft a running back in this format, right? It's just for
No, you do need to draft a running back.
Yeah,
it's quarterback, running back, 2 wideouts.
It's the same roster as main slate.
Got it.
So the two games have the same roster, and then the single games are 4
flex. Whoops. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, that you probably have to start the discussion at the running back position this week, because it's like, is Saquon Barkley going to put the slate out of hand, or can one of the Packers running backs match him? Basically, like that's what it is. If like Jonathan Taylor misses. Yep. I covered that game, the Colts game this past week for NBC. Watching that play happen.
Not a big deal.
No, I didn't mean to like fucking.
No, I'm kidding.
I had to watch that game and then write about it afterwards. We'll say it like that. It occurred on the play where he fumbled on the second to last possession of the game. And he came out of the game. Obviously he got rolled up on, and it looked like it was not a high ankle sprain when it happened. But then reports came out immediately following the game, like, hey, he's getting tested for a high ankle sprain. If he has a high ankle sprain, it's going to be 2 to 3 weeks, not 4 days. I haven't seen anything come out since then about, what came of his initial testing. Have you guys seen anything? I haven't been plugged in today.
I'm looking right now. I'm not seeing anything. I was looking right now, and I was also looking for the Giants practice report, because James brings up the fact that is Danny Dimes going to play?
Yeah,
which is interesting
as well.
And then Tyrod left the game for a bit and then came back.
His ankle was negative per Adam Schefter, and he has a chance to play on Thursday night versus Denver.
Okay, then if that is the case, I'm taking shots on JT.
And now that I didn't take him in that last round, and I'm reading that he is now quoted that he hopes to play and that he wants to play. So obviously you're going to say that, you know what I mean? Like that's to come with it, but he's not saying man, now I'm just mad at myself. I didn't get him in that last round.
Well, he's not playing at this point.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this for a second, though.
Let's
talk about this for a second. Do we think it represents massive leverage to draft him right now with the doubtful tag, because people who click on his name will then have to hit the confirmation that he is not swap eligible? Yep. Now that gives us a big piece of leverage if we think he's going to play. It also brings the variance of us having dead lineups, right? Like we could definitively have just take zeros, but we think, given the context of this slate, that is something we're willing to eat right now.
Well, where is Saquon being drafted? Top 2, probably. We gotta check that. Okay, so
let's go into ADP.
Okay. So Saquon is going 1, and Jonathan Taylor is going last, not drafted. So that is your leverage right there. Like,
and that's immediately I was gonna say, like that's the one point where, yes, I understand, like in the context where we normally say we're gonna take that injured player because we'd get the swap. I know we won't get the swap, but we're playing for first, and that is the clear-cut way to get first if you can get him in the last round. Regardless, if you can burn, if you're willing to burn, if your risk tolerance allows you, and you're willing to burn $50 to $100 and just say, you know what, like I know there's a good chance he doesn't play, but if he does, and he's 50% of Jonathan Taylor, like that is a huge. That's your way of building your lineups. That's what story you're telling.
Yeah.
So
if you pair him with like Saquon, or you pair him with that, the minute that Thursday morning he had a limited practice on Wednesday and he's trending in the right direction, you're never ever seeing that combo ever again, right? So there represents another uniqueness angle to it, not only just the player on his own merit, but the uniqueness of build, because even when he is hypothetically ruled in Thursday morning, no one will ever obtain those combos, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, theoretically, any first rounder.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely.
What did he say? JT in a walking boot?
Yeah, I'm reading that on the Underdog's Twitter. It says was wearing a walking boot on his lower right leg during Tuesday's light practice, during which he was a spectator. Taylor is not risk at further injury based on what team doctors have said. So,
yeah, walking boot is like, that can be anything from like, we haven't finished testing him and we don't want him to fuck shit up more, or like all the way to like, hey, he's waiting to get surgery. Like the range of outcomes for walking boot is extremely wide. So just like,
that's a good
that
point.
could be anything. But yeah, that's good to know, because again, like the news cycle of like him in a walking boot, we haven't had confirmation, or I guess we have confirmation that it is not a high ankle sprain, which would be like he's guaranteed like 2 to 4 weeks. That's just how it is. He needs to rest. That's the only way it's going to get better. Or he's just going to keep re-aggravating it. But if it's like something that is at a lower risk of re-aggravation that they can tape up and like have him go, like I think that how that team has started at 1-2-1, they probably want Jonathan Taylor in there. You know, this is a team with like Super Bowl aspirations. I don't know. That's just like me, like, I don't know, thinking theoretically.
No, I think that makes a lot of sense. I was going to look up, I don't know offhand when the Colts bye week is. Oh, it's not till 14.
14,
so,
he's the last bye.
Yeah, that's an interesting note too. Just like, whereas like we were talking about the Swift injury on the main slate, where it's like, yeah, they could just easily hold Swift and Amon-Ra out another week, give them the bye week, and then, you know, like that sort of stuff, especially the way Jonathan Williams has been playing right now. And Craig Reynolds played well too, just for that backfield sake. I think, anyways, that's a sidebar tangent, but just thinking out loud through if the bye week had been close or whatever.
If the Colts were 4-0 and they're like, okay, yeah, let's let them get healthy. They're like 1-2-1. They tied Houston. They like lost to some shit teams.
Then they beat the Chiefs, right?
Yeah, they beat the Chiefs.
Yeah, so
23-20 or something.
Man, the NFL. That's the way. That's just the NFL in a nutshell. You're just like, they have lost to some bad teams, and I'm like, and then they just somehow pulled out a win to the Chiefs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
It's just so funny.
Let's move on to we're still talking running back, but let's move on to that Denver backfield, talking through that game a little bit. We saw Latavius Murray get signed off of the practice squad and basically get poached. He opted to go to the Broncos opposed to staying with the Saints. That to me signals that they're going to play him. I mean, they're going to utilize him, because if he was in a scenario, we talked a little bit earlier, we were talking about how in the Saints backfield right now, like Kamara hasn't been right, Tony Jones hasn't been healthy, and Ingram is kind of like last man standing sort of. Dwayne Washington is there as well. If Kamara wasn't coming back this week, Latavius probably would have stayed for another week. That being said, if Denver goes, hey, like, we're going to offer you a position of utility, I'm just thinking through like Latavius's decision-making here. He wouldn't leave the Saints to go to the Broncos unless he was going to get utilized, right? Because the backfield for the Saints is almost as much a disaster if Kamara sits this week again, right? So just thinking through that, the fact that he's going, to me, kind of, I'm reading it as more signal than noise on this backfield that he's going to be utilized, right?
I'm going to play the other side of that, if you don't mind.
Oh, okay. Yeah, please do.
So the Saints, Kamara is not a season ender. Javonte is. So that's like that's a dead kind of giveaway for like a decision-making process. So to me, that doesn't necessarily signal he's going to see playing time, because they kept Mike Boone for a reason, and this is the reason. They could have just as easily let Mike Boone walk, and they kept 3 running backs and a fullback basically on the roster for this reason, I think, because they know that they utilize 2 running backs and a fullback each week. Also, the reason that I think that they kept Mike Boone is that he is a net neutral to positive in both running and in pass catching. And when you look at like Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams, they're kind of that, they fit that mold where they don't need to be situational. They can be rotated in on different points of the drive and both play like long down and distance. They can both play, goal line. They can fulfill kind of all the needs of a running back in today's game, but they have 2 of them so that they don't have to run one like 25 touches every game.
Yeah.
So to me, Mike Boone is probably the guy that steps in. I think the knee-jerk reaction from like the fantasy scene, I don't know how else to like, for everything from like the casual player to like the like knee deep analyst guys, is like, oh, Latavius is probably going to be involved. I don't know. My initial reaction was kind of that same thing, and then I kind of slept on it. And these are the things you think about when you're laying in bed.
Naturally.
Of course.
Yeah.
Mike Boone versus Latavius Murray. Like, what the shit?
Yeah. Well, we've had a whole conversation about the Denver backfield, and you haven't brought up your boy Melvin Gordon one time.
I know, you can't say his name, dude. I'll start melting.
Yeah. For those who don't know, Mark threw out a tweet in the middle of the offseason and said, friends don't let friends draft Melvin Gordon. And Melvin Gordon
didn't tag him.
Didn't tag him. And Melvin Gordon found that shit. He was Googling his own name in the offseason and responded and put him on blast. And everyone
like, why not, fam?
Yeah.
I got ratioed by Melvin Gordon, dude.
Yeah. Eric brings up an interesting point, like how they've been kind of upset with the fumbles from Melvin Gordon. And maybe that's kind of why we're focusing more on Mike Boone than Melvin Gordon. And maybe perhaps why you're bringing in a solid veteran like Latavius. Very interesting thought there. Nez bringing up that Mike Boone's always had a little steam around him. Like when he was with the Vikings, there was so many, hey, Boone versus Alexander Madison. I remember throwing tweets back in the day, and then all the Boise State contingency coming after me in Madison's defense. And there was always, he was the team preseason. He was one of those darling guys, right? And I'm pretty sure he had one really nice NFL week with the Vikings after both of them were out 1 week. And he kind of went off. If memory serves, it was like 2020. Something like that. Anyways, Mike Boone is always Mike Boone is a poor man's Christine Michael when it comes to fantasy bros talking up a third string running back. That's what Mike Boone is right there.
It wasn't that.
Can't believe we're talking about Mike Boone in 2020, 2022 right now.
The year of our Lord.
No doubt, right? Yeah. 50 snap game, 57%. Maybe it never happened.
I'm trying to find it. I'm trying to find it as well.
If you're trying to find it happened. Mike Boone's never done shit. There we go.
It was the last game of the season in 2019.
2019. All right.
17 attempts, 148. 148.
Yeah, dude.
A tutty.
Let's go.
Elephant never forgets, boys.
Yeah.
Photographic Mike Boone memory right there. There you go.
Yeah, that was the last game of the season, week 16. So
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, if I have, dude, I was a Boone stan. I was sad to see him go. But the Broncos are like kind of my second team, so I was like, whatever. That works.
The way this slate shapes up for the pass catchers, especially in terms of like correlation to me, is the Broncos stand out greatly. Just as having like those two alpha wideouts on this slate. And I think what it's going to lend itself to is a lot of Russell Wilson skinny stacks. So an interesting way to get different, maybe playing Russell Wilson by himself, maybe playing, you know what I mean? Like this is just where my eyes gravitate towards, because if you just throw the names against the wall between Pittman, Sutton, Judy, Dobbs, Lazard kind of, and you just go, hey, rank them. Well, I think almost everybody's going to put two of the Broncos guys in the top 4. Do you guys agree with that thought process?
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
Locks up there.
Yeah. So it sets up interesting for how can we build differently in this slate. I guess it would be like Giants onslaughts that nobody wants to touch, with backstacking Jones with one pass catcher and hoping the skinny stacks the answer when you front load talent from the other positions.
I think
I
think you're right. I think you're right.
Hamler too, by the way, just as a quick like leverage point off of those two wide receivers.
Yeah, as a one-off or as a stack.
Or I mean, even with like leverage off of Judy and Sutton. But go ahead, Mark.
I think that you're right in the thought that a Russ Wilson and then skinny, like one pass catcher, is probably going to be the mega chalk. So if you think like, how would I leverage that, knowing that is like first of all, like from the scope of this slate, it's 2 games and they both have 43.5 point totals or less. So if you think about like the number of pass touchdowns that are going to be required to be optimal from a quarterback is probably 2 plus. Whoever scores 2 or more touchdowns. So if you think like, what are the chances of the quarterback who throws 2 plus touchdowns throwing multiple touchdowns to like one guy, which is basically what a skinny stack is saying? Very, very minimal, right? So like, how would I leverage that? I would bias on both the extremes. I'd be like, I'm going to take different shots at double stacks. So I'm betting on like one team separating themselves from the other scoring of the rest of the teams. Or I'm just going to run quarterbacks naked and say, like, I'm not going to worry about having to like make standard DFS correlations because this slate is so shitty from like a real world football perspective. Right. So that's kind of how my initial reaction would be to like how to handle that. I would like almost force myself to get away from just like a one pass catcher paired with his quarterback build.
I like that. I think that's a good approach to it because I think everybody's eyes are, like you said, going to gravitate in the direction of that the skinny stack for sure, right?
Yeah, and I would also like personally. I think I'm gonna jump on the slate because now I'm like getting all giddy about it. I would force like every single quarterback, and I probably would spread even ownership.
Okay,
because I think that it's just going to be like the teams that have Russ are going to be the ones that want Russ and they're going to build around that. And the teams that get another guy are be like the guys that, oh shit, I'm just going to see what quarterback falls to me and take it type thing. So it's not like, it's more reactive than planning for it. So if you go in like saying, how am I going to handle this quarterback on this team? Then you can make a better decision tree around that.
I think in that same vein, I think running naked Rodgers and naked Russ makes a lot of sense like that. And the one that would be super unique would be because naked Daniel Jones is going to happen a lot because he's going to be the last taken quarterback when you get frozen out of quarterback and you end up with Daniel Jones. So on that line of thinking, Matt Ryan by himself, because the person who takes Michael Pittman is either going to try and build out a skinny stack that falls to him, or he's always going to default to make sure I take Ryan a little bit earlier so I don't get stuck with Daniel Jones and I get that stack. So I think we'll see ownership consolidate around Ryan and Pittman and then Wilson plus a skinny stack there. And then I think it'll kind of be Daniel Jones is the default that falls to somebody, and Rodgers is kind of like probably the best quarterback play on the slate. And he's going to be in this kind of no man's land because the offense isn't as consolidated.
Yeah, if you think like exactly, or I guess extending that thought process, like who is going into a draft being like, I'm going to force a Saquon Barkley Daniel Jones stack. Like, because that theoretically could be optimal. Saquon is so heavily involved in the pass game. If Daniel Jones throws 2 touchdowns, one of them's to Saquon and he runs one in, which is viable outcome, right? Like that pairing is probably optimal on this shitty slate, but nobody's going to be like, not nobody, but like people are not going to be thinking about that. Daniel Jones is going to be like a secondary, tertiary thing that falls onto your roster if you miss Russ or Aaron Rodgers, right? But there are ways to like thinking through how to theoretically approach it. If you're thinking about those things prior to, going in, you can plan for that as opposed to just being like, oh, I guess I'll take Daniel Jones. I don't want to take him with Saquon because Daniel Jones is rushing, Saquon rushing, but yeah, there's paths there.
Yeah. What have you been doing with the tight end position so far, Neumy? Like it's kind of just try and find a touchdown.
I will say I'm kind of a degen right now, and I've drafted 2 more off to the side while we've been
nice
because I wanted to make sure I could get some of these tailors, which I have. But what you just said about Daniel Jones and Saquon, I just did actually specifically for. So when I go into these, I think of them just try and get as uncomfortable as you like within the realms of like not just going off the rails and just drafting, but like that's exactly what I think. They're like. When I think, when my first reaction is like, oh, I don't want to do that, which it was, I went, well, actually,
everybody else. Yeah,
I should do that. So that's what I've been actually going to. So, and my second team that I just drafted over here was Matt Ryan Onslaught. And I know it sounds just gross, and it makes, but like it was with JT, and it was with, so it wasn't even Onslaught. It was just with JT, and it was with Alec Pierce. So I just faded the whole Michael Pittman. I'm just like, things can happen in these island games and just in games in general, especially a 2-game slate. So I love going into, my only thought is going in here is just being okay with your teams looking ugly. You know what I mean? Like when you don't like your teams, and I think everyone that is deep into DFS, like when you're building showdown lineups, you don't want to like them. You almost just want to look at all of them and go, these are gross.
These are
like,
gross,
what am I doing? But those are the ones that you should be most comfortable with putting in these. And this isn't as large field as the 57K entry. I believe it's only like,
I think it's 5,500. Yeah, something like that.
50, a little, 56, 52. So, I mean, but still, if everyone's just, like I said, like you just stated, everyone, and like myself over here, when I'm thinking, what are we going to do? Like, or what am I going to do? I don't want to do that. Like, just embrace getting uncomfortable. And like, because things can happen like that. And within the realms of, projections and not just going crazy with your entire team. But
yeah, you're not going to take a 4th rounder in the 1st round just be under the premise of being different.
It's just making the architect of your team. And Saquon for me here. Yeah, I don't know about you guys.
Oh yeah, I don't think, I was just about to say, I don't really think, just from a usage, a talent, whatever standpoint, a clarity of role standpoint, I don't think there's even a case to be made for anyone other than Saquon 101 on this slate. Maybe if Taylor is healthy and gets steamed up and whatever, or let's just throw the walking boot out the window, throw whatever. If he was healthy, maybe you could make a debate between the two, but I still think I would lean the side of Saquon. Yeah.
Denver's such a pass funnel defense. So
and what would you do here? So my question is, like, for me, it's kind of like Saquon, and then I'd still go Sutton. And then it's like, what do I do with that 3rd pick if they're not there? So what, like, if you're sitting here and Saquon goes and you're in the 2 pick, are you taking Rodgers? Are you taking Rodgers, or are you taking the pass catcher?
Yeah, I don't know yet.
That's what I've been leaning towards. I haven't got any Rodgers. I've just been letting people take them in.
It'd be different if it was like Baltimore and Buffalo were on the slate, where it's like one quarterback could completely separate from the pack. It's like these are 4 quarterbacks. Whoever wins the race to 2 pass touchdowns wins. Like, I don't know. Like,
Yep.
This is an interesting little slate of
my wife just texted me. My 5-year-old son asked my wife, "Is Dad doing his potty cast?"
I love it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's
Daddy
awesome.
had Taco Bell for lunch. Yes,
he's doing an hour podcast.
Just Sutton easy right there. And then I would probably bypass quarterback again to get.
Yep, same here.
Yeah, I don't mind getting Jones plus Barkley and knowing that it'll auto swap to Taylor if he doesn't go. And then I don't. I think we kind of don't want to double Judy. I kind of want to go with a run back option.
Yeah, I like Lazard.
Yeah, you think?
I like that with the mini for Barkley too.
Yeah.
That was my thought.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, yeah, I like that a lot. There is merit, right there, in my opinion, to going Sutton Judy and then just being like, "Yo, we're so different because we have Sutton Judy without any Russ connection." But then you are asking a lot of Russ. And then not having him, it's kind of bad, right?
It's different if you had a like uber concentrated offense where it was like 2 players were at like 60% team target market share, where you could eat up yardage and not be relying on touchdowns as much, because like, but on the teams that are available here, it's like you almost would need Russ on that as well. If you went, that would be like save that for a team overstack like we talked about earlier.
Okay. Yeah. Like
that would be for me. Just kind of like I've done a bunch of these, and I'm just trying to literally like I have this combo. I need to get different. So
yeah,
I agree with that.
So here we go. Tight end quarterback. Is that right?
I think so. I think that's
how many.
So we don't need to go Jones here. Yeah, we don't need to go.
Yeah,
Jones
6 rounds.
So we can just get him in the last.
So so we don't have to take Jones because we know we're getting Jones.
But we know we need a tight end and then whatever else.
Is Tanyan? Yeah, Tanyan would be. It's like Tanyan or like try and
find a touchdown.
Mo a touchdown and
so are we gonna want to do the JT thing or no?
I think I'm just gonna go Tanyan and JT right here.
That's what I love.
Just wait for
and then get Jones. Yeah.
Yep.
So that's gonna be super. Yeah, but the reason I was hesitating is it's like tight end is also a shit fest on the slate where it's is it Tanyan or do you want to gamble on one of the 3 tight ends in Indy? Like that's it. Like
I know people have been, and maybe it's just the rankings for them. I've seen Albert O
last week.
Yeah, Mo Alley and Albert O have been going over Tanyan and Bellinger so much, and I'm just like, I would rather kind of have Tanyan and Bellinger if I like, and they just keep falling to me. And in the 3 that I've done, so yeah, tight end, it's just like another wait for it type slate.
What happened to Albert O last week? He played 1 snap. Like, what happened to him?
I don't know, honestly.
Plays just 1 snap and loss. Played 1 offensive snap, did not record any stats.
Yeah, 41 for Eric Sauber. And then 1 snap. Yeah, what the heck?
Yeah.
Who did they play again?
The Raiders. Right? Or was that the week before?
It might have something to do with just going, I don't know, dude. Like if they were going 21 or 12 personnel, they would have had like different
really like this
catchers.
team.
And they also ran Kendall Hinton pretty heavily last week as well.
Yeah, I don't have the personnel bunchings open, but like
it was heavy 12.
It was heavy 12. Okay.
Heavy 12 and heavy 21, both of them.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would think he'd be on the field in those sets.
Yeah, they ran heavy sets against Vegas. That was a good roster though. I like that one.
Yeah.
And we got Greg Dulcich returning from IR, not this week, or maybe this week.
He's shit. There's the hard hitting analysis from
Broncos fan.
He's shit. Yeah.
Davis Maddox does not like to hear that.
No, he was on him.
Oh yeah, that's just like brand. I'm pretty sure it's.
Yeah.
One more, boys. You got time?
Yeah, I can rip one.
Yeah, Neumy's got one more show and that sort of stuff. Neumy's doing the Spike Week tonight. That's
Yeah, I'm doing it with Rob. I think we're drafting our resurrection team, and I have no idea what's going on, and I'm not excited about it.
Why not? No, you can feel your way through a resurrection for sure.
I'll be fine. I've been putting all of my money towards the pennant. I've been so out of football the past like 3 days. I've just been in MLB again. So,
yep, I don't mind that. Oh yeah. Bringing up the fact that Dulcich
is he out? Okay, I was looking at tweets trying to figure out Alberto. So, thank you. Boots on the ground.
Yeah, we got boots on the ground takes in the chat. Respect it. There's a little more my speed, You can catch up with the chat a little bit. I was flying by the seat of my pants in that last stream. Couldn't read anything. Not smart enough to read and draft at the same time.
There's no way that's real.
Oh man. Yeah. So boots on the ground take says they're just going all in on Albert just pass blocking. Yeah, I mean, he played 1 fucking snap. I don't really know. I don't really know what to make of that. That's bizarre. Hackett's done some weird stuff.
Yeah, it's Nathaniel Hackett. I mean,
yeah, it's just hard to bring rhyme or reason to a bunch of things. Here we go. Come on. One time.
Aaron Jones 1-1.
Yep, and then you got to get your quarterback.
Yeah, I got Saquon at the 1-3 in one of these. They went quarterback. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, this guy's got to go quarterback. Let's go. You love to see it. I love to see it.
Aaron Jones is actually the second most game script dependent running back behind Derrick Henry over the last 3 years, which blew my mind.
Wow.
I think that was like a Hayden Winks stat or something like that. I forget who put it out, but I was like, holy shit. I had never thought to like even look into that.
Okay. So just for my small brain here, how do we quantify that? Like what did the metrics suggest?
Points and wins versus points and losses. Average points per game and wins versus losses.
Yeah, I see it here.
Do we like crazy. Sutton again here?
I'd go Sutton, and then there's some things we can do on the back end to make it different as well.
Yeah, I think I like that too. It's really hard for me to get off. I think Sutton versus Judy is just like a slam dunk Sutton right now. Like just the way that Russ's eyes go to him.
He's his first read, dude.
Yeah,
which makes sense after he's coming back from DK.
That makes sense.
It was Scott Barrett. DFB
That's who it was? Okay.
Twitter. Yep, he put Aaron Jones. He's second behind Henry, and when they win, it's 19.4 fantasy points per game, RB4. Then when they lose, 9.5 fantasy points per game, RB 46.
But that's pretty nuts, okay. Dude. So in my mind, that doesn't really tell me shit, though. Like that. At what point in those games were they winning, or at what point in those games were you know what I mean, like script dependent wise? Because I mean, I guess it tells me something, but it in my mind, I would have been like, oh yeah, Aaron Jones never leaves the field when they're trailing, and he's the pass catching back, right? So my mind would have been like, oh yeah, he's still balling out when they're trailing. I don't know. Yeah, that's interesting. We got some interesting decisions here.
Dude. So Sutton is number 2 in the NFL this season.
Yeah, let's pick right. Here. Do we want to do this? We talked about doing this. I think there's a clear talent drop off at wide receiver.
I'm good with it.
You guys aren't giving me anything right now. Come on.
I didn't realize we were up.
Well, I mean, even whatever we give you, you're still going to override it.
Yeah. No, it's not it's nobody's birthday anymore.
Damn straight. Yeah. No
even,
freebies.
Yeah. Even when it was my birthday. So.
Okay. Let's see who this guy's got right now. He's got Hines, Aaron Jones, Lazard. I kind of like taking Matt Ryan here and making a stand that we think Matt Ryan's a better play and getting the Matt Ryan run back off the 2 Denver pass catchers and then tying Matt Ryan to our quarterback or to our tight end or tying him to Taylor.
I'm down.
Mark.
That's fine.
Okay. I don't know. I was thinking through that as it was happening. I don't know how I feel about that.
It was either
There's also
you can run Matt Ryan with Mo Alley is kind of what
that's what I was.
Yeah.
Is probably the most optimal thing to do.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Hopefully he doesn't get sniped here.
Yeah. Man, you're deep in the weeds when we're calling Mo Alley snipes. Well, I hope Mo Alley Cox comes back to us. Yeah.
Oh, there's one. Come on. Cross your fingers, boys.
Oh, shit. Mo Alley, 2 catches, 1 catch, and then 6 catches for 2 tutties.
And watch Kylan Granson be it.
The big thing was the
Granson's
snaps.
had multiple catches. He played 70 something. I was looking at that. Okay, so we taking Mo Alley here and then just saying, okay.
Or if you want, you can do it and then take JT. Or I don't know what you're thinking.
Let's take JT first.
He has a tight end, so I don't think he'll go. Okay. Now watch him take Mo Alley.
No, it's fine. Whatever. Then we'll take.
That was my only thought. Was just because he has the potential to maybe tap Taylor, but he has Hines, so he probably wouldn't have done that.
Yeah,
or maybe he doesn't have Hines. I don't know. Sorry.
No, I think he was the guy with. No, no. The other guy was the guy with Hines. Okay, so we like Mo Alley here between these two. Yeah. Okay.
Yep, I like it.
That's kind of fun. We got two drafts in, and they're super high variance because we didn't get a quality quarterback, and we got Jonathan Taylor in both of them. But I think these represent a path to winning. They might represent I lit 20 USD on fire, but they also represent a path to winning. And that's something that we've talked about for a long time, about just embracing this variance and uncertainty. And what better way to embrace it than drafting a guy with a doubtful tag twice, right? I mean,
that's literally the Roto Run brand right there, if I do say so myself.
Straight, baby. Yeah, damn straight. Embrace it.
Yeah, we're not straying away from anything. We're sticking true.
Yeah.
Now to throw a comment tutorial in there, and we're good to go.
Exactly. Yeah, Eric knows it. First or last. There's no in between. That cash line does not exist. Waiting around, holding our chips just to cash at the money bubble. That ain't us. That ain't us. I'd rather go out on the first hand. Baby. Yeah, I'd rather go out on the first hand. All right, that's gonna do it for the Thursday night, Sunday morning, brand new slate preview. We'll be back tomorrow. It's going to be 11 a.m. Eastern with the BBM2 champion, Liam Murphy. It's going to be me, Neumy, and him in the morning. And Mark, you'll be back on Friday. We'll break down some of the chalk plays. We'll talk some of the OWS stuff. We'll do a little more game by game, some main slate stuff.
Edge comes out on Thursday, right? Normally, or
the games will all be live Thursday for Thursday Night Football. Yeah,
there we go. So everybody go read the Edge.
Yeah, that's
on
a must
Thursday.
read. That's become must read.
Absolutely. Appreciate all the people in the chat, all the people supporting us. Another shout out to everyone who's been doing so much for us. The people at Underdog, Pete coming on today. I mean, this has been a whirlwind last week or so, and it's been great. It's been a good, fun situation. Appreciate all the love and support we've been getting thus far. Mark, thank you for being here. Any parting words, gentlemen?
Love you.
I hope Jonathan Taylor plays.
All right, here we go. Everybody's favorite part of the show, the end.